Alright, this is going to be my very first video. A little background on this. I've had this car for quite a few years, pushed it out in the woods, and really should have hauled it off for now, but got no idea on this. Give me a few minutes, let me get this truck hooked up to it and get it drug out, and this may make a good little pressure wash video. Oh yeah, let me get some wind in the tires and get a cable hook to it and get it pulled out of here. Give me a few minutes. Alright, let's see if we can get it out of here. That's a little better. Not perfect, but at least got the moss off of it. Now, I can get it in the garage and have something to work with. For sitting 10 years, it's not too bad for a 96. I'm not even going to describe the smell inside. It's like one of those old musky houses, but I'll get it cleaned up. Alright, well, got it at least rinsed off and in the garage. The little history on this car, I bought it years ago. I think it was, I don't know, 11, 12 years ago from a woman. And as you can see, it's partially tore down. It's been sitting that way for a while. The water outlet, not thermostat housing. Thermostats, this is a quad 4 or the GM 2.4 twin cam. The water outlet had cracked. They got it hot. And if anybody knows anything about these twin cam GM 2.4s, is that they get a little bit hot or really hot and the head gasket lets loose. Well, I bought it, pulled the head off of it, had the head reworked, had to mill it just a little bit. I think I had to put a shim in it, but I can't remember. Drove it around for about a year and a half, 2 years. Actually, pretty good little car. When it's running, it's pretty fast car. It's a little 96 GT Sunfire. Uh, Great on fuel. But one day, started it and left, headed to town or work. I can't remember. It'd been so long. And developed a miss. I'm like, okay, well, maybe it's just the coil covers that's under the on it, or something didn't seem it cranked over normal-ish sounding. So sat a couple days, messed with it. Next thing I did was a compression test, and just to rule out anything. And number one was low. Okay, so I run a scope in it, and one of the valves had cracked in it. It looks like a crack in one of the valves. And so I kind of started tearing it down, and you know how things go. Life gets in the way, got doing this and that, and it kind of sat. Well, I moved to put it on the trailer and pushed it back in the woods, and it sat there for a while. And decided that I've always done automotive stuff, and it's something I don't do for a living. I used to a long time ago, but I always like doing stuff out here in the garage, so I thought I would start YouTubing it. And my game plan on this is it's not going to be the same powertrain. Project I wanted to do a long time ago, and it's started on it and it kind of got put in the back burner. I've got a Series 2 GM 3800 supercharged. I want to put in there. I got it in the transmission, our local little kind of like the pull apart or pick and pull, whatever they call it. Got it from there. Come out of an 02 Buick Regal GS, which I've still got to go to the shop and get it, bring it over here. I've got the engine, the harness, the ECM, the 4T65, I believe, transmission. And anyway, the transmission's in the car. I'm going to get all this pulled out of here. And if anybody's ever pulled these before, you have to drop everything out of the bottom. I'll get it all pulled out and get it back together, because the first thing we've got to do before I can even go ahead with anything, I've got to get the mounts made, and I am not a fabricator by no means. I've got the way these mounted. Let me get a flashlight. The way these mounted, got a transmission mount right there. There was a plate that goes on the about middle ways of the motor, bolts there, and there's a dog bone way down at the bottom, kind of down there. It sits underneath by the oil pan. Well, the 3800s have got a lower mount one all the way to the bottom of the engine that sits on the subframe. Well, I'll show you once I get this tore down and stuff. There's not much of a subframe down there, and I'm hoping I can try to make the existing transmission mount location work, because it's similar platform to transmission, but they are different. And there's two dog bones. One goes up here, one goes up here. So no big deal on these. I can brace this up, make a brace over to the strut towers, make a brace across strut towers, just to help it a little bit, because those 3.8s, especially supercharged ones, are heavy. They're fully dressed. I think they're over 400 pounds. But they're very, very dependable, well-built, durable motors. And it's kind of a little project I've been wanting to do for a while. So, I do have a few people I know, some friends, and they've been telling me over the years I should have been doing this, doing YouTube stuff for a while. So, well, this is the first little project. This is a budget build. I want to show that, somebody go find an old car, find them a junkyard, get some parts, throw something together, and see what they make do with it. But I'm still that's still way on down. So I've got to let me get all this ripped out of here, because I want to get all this out. May have to pull a rack and pinion out. I need to do some measuring. I'd like to put an electric rack and pinion out of something on here, out of a GM vehicle, so I don't have to deal with the power steering pump, because on the 2.4s, the power steering pump is actually run off the back of one of the cams on the head. Excuse me, I've been under the weather. When I watched this yesterday, it was the sinus is already messed up, and they're getting better today. But y'all just bear with me. Let me get this all pulled out, that way I can get it cleaned and get a clean slate and go from there. You can see I got everything pulled out of here. Gonna push this out where I can get it cleaned up under here real good. As you can see, those quad 4s are known for leaking a little bit of oil. Got to get a little parts list up just on the car itself. It's like hood release cable. It's corroded through pretty good. Battery tray. I may try to salvage that. I don't know yet. And I want to do away with the ABS. This was different ECMs going on with everything, and that's just a big honk in the way. So I'll come up with something with that. Of course, cut power steering lines, all that, get the exhaust cut off, heater hoses, all that's going on a different one. My game plan is, let me get a little more light. The 3.8, and I'll show you when I get to in another video, when I get it, start getting it put together. They have got a lower mount, and I'm thinking about extending. This was the lower dog bone for the 4-cylinder. I'm thinking about extending it out and bracing it up to here where the factory mount goes. The trans, I don't know yet. It mounted to the body on the old car, and the other one had it. But I want to show y'all this. This is the old motor out. I already knew it had a burnt valve, number one, but just for kind of closure, go ahead and pull this off, and there's the problem. I'm going to say that's more of a break than a burn. Let's see if I can get the light a little better, because that's an awful good size hole. And of course, this thing wasn't really running the best condition or had the best of life. So anyways, none of this is going back in. I want to make me this little cheap daily driver. I don't want to say cheap, but more dependable daily driver. Maybe a little more power, but I really like I believe it's a L32 Series 2 3800 I'm putting in here. The 3.8's been around a long time. They're a good platform. They're pretty tough and cheap to work on. So I want to get this pushed out, get it cleaned up, and we'll see this back in the garage for a minute. Got to get a little part, like I said, a little parts list. Just I've been kind of cleaning this car up. Mirrors broke, I think. Yep. All right. Found one at a junkyard, so I'll get a little list up together. I don't know if y'all do what I do on projects. I keep a little notepad because I've got a couple vehicles. That way, if I'm there and I happen to see something, I can just flip through it and see it. Like on this, mirrors and just little small piddly stuff. I do know the air dams broke off, and the little baffle under here is broke. If it's good, most of the time the front ends of these get tore up from parking humps and hitting stuff on the road. But if it's good, I'm gonna get it. And a couple of little small things like the cup holder in the back's broke. Carpet's kind of rough over here on the side. The seat's kind of wore down. But old car, you'll expect that. But man, I'm telling y'all, the early 90s to mid 2000 GMs is kind of the best years, I think, in my opinion, of the GM cars and trucks. There's a few exceptions in there, but a lot of these are still around. Got a 96 Lumina I'm going to do. I know it won't start. I had it running back a year or so ago. Lost fuel pressure, been sitting, and that's been pretty dependable old car, but I think I'll do a video on it. I'll drop the tank out, put a pump in it, get it back running, and I think it's got close to 300,000 on it. Nothing major was never done on that car, and other than I think intake gaskets a couple times, starter and alternator and water pump, just usual stuff. And I think it's had one fuel pump done and some tune-ups, but that old Lumina's been a tried and true car. All right, thought I'd give you all a little quick funny content here real fast. Long time ago, back when I still drove this car, exhaust on it's kind of loud. Pulling in a parking lot one time, guy in a, I don't know, little 4-cylinder car next to me goes, "Man, that exhaust sounds good." He goes, "Where'd you get that at?"
So it's stock, but that is the stock.